Sharing with you in this video how to take control of your ego to create your goals faster. Make it so that you can take control of what we're going to call your unconscious mind. We're going to call it, for the purpose of this video, your lower self. We're going to call it, again, your ego. And so the first thing that I want to share with you in this video in terms of how to actually do this is to really start to understand that the ego, first of all, is not bad. The ego is not a bad thing. We need to completely just remove this perspective out of your belief. Just remove it out of your belief, remove it out of your thoughts that somehow the ego is bad. Because if you believe that the ego is bad, what you're not seeing is that your mind is just a tool. Everything in life a tool, but the question is, are we using it consciously? Are we using it consciously? And are we really focusing on the place that we are coming from while we are using our ego? Because we can be using our ego in a very unconscious way, and really there's multiple ways to look at the ego. So from one perspective, the ego is really nothing less and nothing there's nothing less and nothing more other than just you losing yourself in the forms of life. So when I say forms, what I'm talking about is your thoughts, I'm talking about your emotions, I'm talking about your beliefs, and I'm talking about your conditioning. It's attachment to these things. This creates the ego. Now, if you see this as bad, what's happening is that really this can come from many different things. It can come from maybe judgments. It can come from a lack of understanding of what the ego is. But the truth is that the only way to beat all of this is not through judgment and resistance and being upset at yourself and all of these types of emotional reactions. It's about consciousness and love. That's all it really is. As cliche as it sounds, all you need is more consciousness and love, because then you can see that any conditioning that you have, any emotionality that you have, any negativity that comes up that's out of alignment with who it is that you prefer to be in your life, all of these things you can naturally begin to remove them out of your life when you begin to understand that the ego, first of all, is not a bad thing. Only when you begin to understand that the ego is not a bad thing, first of all, is when you can open up your mind to the possibility that you can control your ego and let it go. Because anything that you judge in your life or that you resist in your life, you will amplify more of. You cannot let go of something that you are resisting. It is impossible. Anything that you resist in your life, you create more. Anything that angers you is quite literally controlling you, and you're going to be locked into that frequency, locked into that energy. You can't remove your way out of something if you're resisting something. If you're not fully accepting something, you can't really change anything. Unless you're fully conscious of something, you can't change anything. This is why people always say that the first step to remove a bad habit is through becoming aware of it. And where this comes from is really the truth that consciousness is going to purify you of all of the parts of you where you're not fully aligned with your higher self and who it is that you prefer to be. So the second part of this process that I believe is really important is to start to understand that you want to use your ego. Do not let it use you. See, I really believe that, truthfully speaking, everything in life is just a tool. It's just a tool. Your mind is a tool. Okay, there's many things in your life, like a knife is a tool, but your mind is a tool as well. Your body is a tool. Your whole ego is a tool. So the question is, are you using it, or are you getting in your own way? Are you creating resistance for yourself? Are you blocking yourself from success, from what you want, from being happy? Are you blocking yourself from being connected to the essence of this present moment? Because really, you have to understand that the emotion of whatever it is that you desire in your life quite literally exists in this present moment. So I need you to become conscious of that right now. I need you to become conscious that whatever feeling you want in your life, whatever feeling that you actually desire in your life, I want you to see that that actually exists in this present moment. And just remember, you don't need anything out there to feel that. There's nothing that you need out there to make you feel the abundance of this present moment. There's nothing out there. So when you begin to understand this, only from this space is when you can begin to use your mind. You begin to use your mind, not your mind creating resistance for yourself, where you're blocking yourself, where you're getting in your own way. So understand that, if you let yourself go into situations and you lose your essence in a problem. You lose your essence in the actions that you're taking. You lose your essence in the way that you do things. And you're not focused on the way that you do things anymore. You're focused on just the things that you're doing. If you're solely focused on the things that you're doing, but you forget the place that you were coming from while you were doing what you're doing, I believe that you've already lost, unfortunately. You've already lost. That's a battle really where you're creating what's called a self-fulfilling prophecy to fail, to ultimately fail, because you're starting from failure from that perspective. You're starting from limitation. You're not walking through life open to the possibilities, open to the change, open to the magic of this present moment, open to the transformation. You're focused on everything coming at you, and then you're a victim to it. You're a victim to your thoughts. You become a victim to your emotions. You become a victim of your ego. You think the ego is bad. You think everything is hurting you. Nothing is helping you. So when you come from your higher self, you see that your ego is not bad. You're just using it as a tool. It's just you can play the roles that you desire to play in your life consciously. So what happens is that when we come from a space of unconsciousness, lack of awareness, lack of present moment awareness, we start to sign up for roles that we never cared to play, and then we see the ego is bad. We judge the ego. We don't see this life that we're living as a playground to create. It's a playground to create, but it should be done so respectfully and honorably and wisely and consciously. But all of this can only happen when you're not actually judging yourself, which really leads me to the final thing that I want to share with you in this video, which is going to be more of a spiritual perspective, or however you want to look at it, whatever label you want to slap on this. But the truth of the matter here, in terms of how to really control your ego to create your goals faster, is to let God, let consciousness purify you. Just let it purify you. This is really the solution, I believe, to take the counterintuitive approach, the seemingly backwards approach, but it's going to get you the result that you're looking for, to help you to take control of your ego fully, then as a result, helping you to create your goals faster and to help you manifest your goals faster. And so why is this the case? It's because that when you take the burden off of your limited, tiny little ego, thinking that it has to figure it all out, and you let God lead the way, you let consciousness lead the way, you let faith lead the way, not to say that you don't have pure, clear intentions, but you understand that I believe that it is important to believe in something greater than just your ego, greater than just your conditioning and what you believe to be true based on your past. So when you let consciousness lead the way, I believe that this is when you counterintuitively gain all the control that you need in your life. Seems backwards, seems like, how is that going to work? It might seem like, well, what are you talking about? Like, how would possibly letting go of control and focusing on letting God take control, how's that going to help you to take control of your ego? Well, let me explain. Before I conclude this video, it's really about not judging yourself, because here's what happens. When we have negative problems that come up to the surface, when we have negative situations, we have pain, we have suffering, we have life challenges, we have problems, you have your own habits that maybe you becoming conscious of that you don't like about yourself, you're becoming conscious of all these things that you dislike about yourself, all these things that you don't like. How do you go about this normally? What the ego does in these situations is that it judges itself. It says, why is all of this stuff happening to me? It becomes a victim. It starts complaining. It usually likes to tell others about these problems as well and complain and then share all this negative stuff, right? And then so what all of this is really doing is that you're just getting in your own way. That's all it really is. If you observe that action for what it really is, this whole chaotic circus of events, it's you getting in your own way. It's you convincing yourself that being emotional is somehow beneficial for you. But when you look at the truth of the matter here, it never is. Letting your ego take control and making these emotional outbursts happen in your life, if you've ever had any, you'll find that those never do anything for you, and they never have. So the key is to come from a space of purity. When I say God, when I say consciousness, it really just boils down to present moment awareness. Zero judgment of what happens. Because again, to change anything, there has to be a full awareness and a full letting go of every single thing that's coming up in your life, even if you don't like it. Even if you dislike it, even if you're not happy about it, if you don't want it. The key is to let the divine intelligence within you to make decisions for you. And this is what I want to share with you here, is that please don't please don't confuse this or make it so that I make you misunderstand a topic, or I don't want to miscommunicate this. This is not about having your own free will, sovereignty, and consciousness, and your own independent ability to think for yourself. That's not what I'm saying here. So that's something that's really important here, is that divine intelligence, I believe, actually gave you the capacity and gave you the ability to actually think for yourself and to make your own decisions and to be your own person. But you got to understand that however you want to look at this perspective, there's going to come a point where even if you want to depend on your ego and your mind and your logic to do all of the thinking and all of the planning, and you look at it for even multiple years, for a long period of time, and you logically weigh out all the decisions in your life and you figure it all out, that's really good stuff. Eventually, through that whole process, what you're going to have to do at some point is to commit to the plan and actually follow through. And the follow through is just as important as the plan. And the way that we do this is that we learn to trust in the divine. We learn to trust in something greater than our ego. We learn to trust in something greater than just our logic and our thinking. And that's where I believe the magic can happen. That's where you take action. That's where action can become almost effortless. Not effortless, but much easier, because you're not forcing anything. You're coming from a place of simple, basic present moment awareness. And you let that awareness guide your actions. You let that consciousness within you and that presence within you to help you to make decisions, to help you to be better. It's a sense, right? It's not necessarily your thoughts, it's not necessarily your emotions, it's not necessarily a feeling, and it's not necessarily even anything that puts you in a particular state. But somehow when you're conscious of it, you just simply have a knowing within yourself. It's a trust in not knowing almost, but at the same time, it's a knowing. It's the only thing that you know to be true. Because the only thing that you know to be true is the fact that you really exist, and that's the only thing you've always known. You've always known that you've existed, and there's never been a moment that you didn't know that you existed. And that's the only thing that you can really depend on, I believe, to fully take control of your life. And that sounds counterintuitive, it sounds backwards, but I really believe that if you look at the most successful people in the world, what you will find is that they have a strong faith in something greater than themselves and in themselves as well. They might have a strong sense of pride. They might have a strong sense of arrogance. And where does a person get such a strong level of pride and arrogance to be able to actually use that as a way to follow through to create what they want? That comes from faith. That comes from a strong faith, again, not just in yourself, but in something greater than yourself simultaneously, and then to commit to your vision. Commit to your vision. Let God even guide your vision. Let God help you to think of your vision. And then when you find out your vision, let God to help you to follow through. What you can do here is start to understand that it's not up to just all up to your thinking mind to figure it all out. Try to judge yourself less. Try to let the divine help you to be the person that you want to be by coming from a space of just pure awareness. Pure awareness where you understand that you can be the person that you want to be. You have full permission to be who it is that you want to be. You don't need to look for any validation from the outside world to confirm to you that you need to be who it is that you want to be. But if you want to hear it, I'll give it to you right now. You absolutely have full permission to be whatever it is that you want to be. And you can do so in a way that honors your own consciousness and your own sovereignty and who it is that you want to be. And you never need to sacrifice this. You don't need to sacrifice your sovereignty and your consciousness and your ability to be conscious of who you really are to be able to create whatever it is that you want. That's a myth. That's a belief that even the awareness of who you are is somehow even to control a state. It's not about controlling your state, really. It's about just being conscious of who you really are, and then to understand that that will naturally purify you. When you can stop trying to control the states in your life and you simply become a full present moment awareness observer, the irony of it all is that that's the master key to start to control your states, is to completely surrender the desire to control any state whatsoever. I believe to be the case. I believe that when you can surrender all control of any emotion and just simply be aware, and then have an intention and a vision combined with this simultaneously, and to know the direction that you're going in your life, you'll naturally become a transmuter of negative emotions and turn it into something positive, because simply you know what you're doing, you know where you're going, you know what your intention is, and you know how to follow through because you have self-trust. Why? Because you, again, know your intention and you've done it in the past, hopefully. And if you haven't, then you just simply trust in something greater than yourself and you follow through with that by taking action. And if you've done it before, of course you have self-trust, because you've built that self-trust by consistently taking action on a vision that you set out to do. And you did that by having a vision and then trusting in your deeper intelligence within you to take the actions that you know you need to take to get whatever it is that